Welcome to today's video. As you can tell by the background, I am still in Thailand, currently enjoying my off season. However, I am going back to the UK very, very soon. I will be back in the UK in around a week's time from now. So then I can actually ramp my pre-season up and actually start doing stuff to get fit for the season. Haven't really been doing much in Thailand, mostly just enjoying the off season, getting that mental rest in as well as that physical rest. But the last week and a bit, we have been doing a bit of leg work just to get our legs nice and strong, getting a load of strength training in just before we actually go back to actually running. However, that is not the topic of today's video. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 lessons that footballers learn way too late. Now for this, it's very, very important that you actually watch this video, make notes, because you don't want to make some of the mistakes that I've made and other footballers have made. So here's the thing, when you're younger, your brain has less cognitive clutter and brain plasticity. And basically what these two things mean is effectively you are able to form new connections in your brain to actually learn new stuff a lot easier when you're younger because of basically just not actually having all of these set beliefs and these set things that you've already learned in your muscles or just in your brain up here. So effectively, it's so much easier to learn things young, which is why you need to learn them young. Because if you get to an older age where you're say 18, 19, 20, and you try to learn this stuff, yes, of course, you can learn this stuff at any age. But as a footballer, your best chances of making it pro is as young as you possibly can be. So you want to learn these things as young as possible, because 1, it's going to be easier to learn, and 2, it's going to increase your chances of going pro. So grab a pen and paper and let's begin. Lesson 1 is you need to push yourself as much as you possibly can. And what I mean by this is going chasing those opportunities, going and trialing for a new team, going and doing things that scare you as a footballer. Because this is a mistake that I made, and I know hundreds of you watching will also make the same mistake. It's where you have a team, you're in a team, you're fairly comfortable, you know, maybe you start most of the game, sometimes you're on the bench, or maybe you're just chilling on the bench in general. But you're comfortable, you know all the players around you, you know the manager, your dad knows the manager, your mum may know the like everyone knows everyone. It's quite a comfortable scenario, a comfortable situation, and it feels like home in a way. Even if you're not enjoying your football, it feels like home because these guys are your friends, you know everyone, etc, etc. But look, let me tell you, this is okay for a year, a couple years, but if you're on the edge, if you feel like, you know, you can maybe benefit from actually pushing yourself a little bit harder, maybe it's slightly too easy for you, or maybe you're not getting enough game time, I know it's a hard decision to make, but you have to leave that team. It's as simple as that. You have to push yourself to go and find these opportunities, to go and train with new teams, to push yourself to a level that you've never been before. Because this is exactly how you improve. If you stay in the same situation the whole time, the same scenario the whole time, then that is exactly the level you're going to be. You're never ever going to be able to get higher than it because you're basically surrounded and trapped by people who think you're this good, you do these things, and this is how you are. And because other people believe this stuff about you, you are going to fall into that trap as well. And you're basically going to identify with those beliefs that other people think about you. While this is getting into something much deeper, the ultimate point that I'm trying to make here is that you need to explore other opportunities. You need to get out of your comfort zone. Go and train with that new team. Go and message a club who's maybe a league above you. Go and trial with a team that you played against that were a really good team. And the ins and outs of actually going to go and get those things, that's taught inside the Pro Player Pathway. That'll be linked in the description. But that's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about here. Because ultimately, all you guys need to do is just chase opportunities. If there's a trial coming up, go to that trial. Tell your parents, look, I want to go to this trial. I don't care if I'm not good enough. I want to be in a new scenario. I want to see how good other footballers are compared to me. And doing all of these things, having all of these experiences that maybe you're not good enough to go and do, it will help you improve so much. Because when you get out of your comfort zone, that is when the most growth is made. That's when you're scared. And then when you go back to that kind of home environment, it just feels so much easier. So for lesson 1, go out of your comfort zone. Go and chase new opportunities whenever they come about and leave your home team. For lesson 2, and this is a mistake that so many footballers make, and it's not prioritizing their technical ability. Players get to 13 and 14 and all they've ever known is playing football. But then they go online, they go on Instagram, they go on TikTok, and they see all these guys doing cool workouts, doing gym workouts, lifting really heavy weights, and they think, wow, that looks cool, that's going to help me with football. And look, it won't help you with football. It just won't help you. Lifting stupidly heavy weights will not help you with football. I've been there and it doesn't help you, so take it from me, don't make that mistake yourself. But there's also loads of other elements to it, and it's just practicing other things like practicing stupid skill moves, etc, etc. None of this stuff's actually going to help you. What you need to prioritize is just mastering your technical ability, getting it to that elite level, not learning the fancy skills, not going to the gym 100 times a day, not doing all this other irrelevant stuff, but literally just mastering the basics, learning how to control the ball, move it from side to side, move it forwards and backwards in the exact spot that you want it to go. Literally mastering that will just put you above 99% of the competition. And I speak about this so much because it is the most important aspect of football. Because if you're doing it every single day or every couple days, doing cone drills, doing ball mastery, doing free flow dribbling, all of this stuff, that will compound. And eventually, if you do it for a few years straight, where you're doing it just every few days, then eventually your technical ability is going to be so much better than everyone else. And for me personally, when I felt the most benefit of this is actually when we kind of came back from lockdown. In the second lockdown, I was out there every single day with a couple of my mates, doing the cone drills, doing 1v1s, all of that stuff. And then when I came back to football, and I came back to my team, I literally realised, wow, all you need to do is actually just practice this stuff. It's going to make the biggest difference on the pitch. Because realistically, right, football is a game where there's loads of elements into it, like athleticism, other things like IQ, being able to play that killer pass, etc, etc. And those things are so important as well. But if you're a young player, all you need to do, and I promise all you need to do, is just get your technical ability to the best standard, better than everyone else, and you're going to stand out way more than everyone else. And the reason why this is so key, that you learn it young, is because when you get older, it becomes so much harder to improve your foot speed, which is probably one of the biggest impacts, the biggest elements and actually things that affect your technical ability. And it just becomes so much harder to actually learn how to control the ball and move the ball. If you ask anyone who started trying to train their technical ability when they're kind of like 20 years of age, it's way harder for them to learn. So learn technical ability, prioritize it. If you're a young player watching this right now, you need to prioritize it. Drop the other stuff that you're doing when it comes to, if you're going to the gym 5 times a week, cut that all out. Focus on your technical ability, because what that will do for you is a much bigger thing than getting big and strong, getting all their massive muscles. That comes later in life, okay? If you're doing a tiny bit of strength training, or you're doing game analysis, absolutely fine. But just make sure that you're prioritizing your technical ability. Because trust me, the feeling when you actually unlock it and you master it and you become way better than everyone else, that feeling is elite. And as well as it being elite, everyone's going to notice it. Not just you, your managers, scouts, teammates. Everyone's going to realize, wow, this guy's actually a footballer. And that is the biggest thing in football, just becoming an actual football player. So that's lesson 2, and let's go to lesson 3. Lesson 3 is one on the mental side, and this is unlocking discipline and actually understanding discipline. And this is something that maybe most footballers never learn in their life, and maybe that's the reason that they don't actually ever make it pro. Because discipline is the key to success. Because look, everyone gets a burst of motivation where they go, oh yeah, this week or this day, I'm going to go train 5 times, then I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do all my recovery work, I'm going to eat really healthy. And then they do that, fair enough to them, but then the next day or a few days later, that's it. They've completely packed it in and they've gone back to their old habits. And that is caused by a lack of discipline. So discipline is the most important thing, because if you want to take all these lessons on board that I'm talking about, like prioritizing your technical ability, then in order for you to actually do that and do it consistently, you are going to need a high level of discipline. Because football's tough, you're training, oh wait, I've got no results, should I quit or should I keep being disciplined and keep going? And that's a task that is basically a thing that comes up for everyone. There's a lot of times where you don't get the result, and it's just about how much do you want it. Are you going to keep going? Are you going to keep your discipline? Or are you going to pack it in and give up? Ultimately, and one of the most important things in football, and it's never really spoken about because, it's not really in the best interest of people online to actually speak about this. But the reality is, of football and becoming a professional footballer is that you just have to play as much football as possible, and especially when you're young. And what that will do for you is you'll just become better than everyone else. And I know it sounds simple to say, but it's so true. If you actually think about anything that you've done in life, of course, talent plays a little bit of a factor. But if you think about you comparing yourself to your friend in anything in life, whether it's a subject in school or it's tennis or anything like that, if you think about who's better at those things, then most of the time, 99% of the time, it's just going to be the guy that's put in more hours than the other person, because that's all football is. And in order for you to put in all of those thousands of hours, hundreds of hours every single week, what you need to do is just have that level of discipline. Now, learning discipline is not something that's, it's going to be done overnight. It's never ever going to happen. But it's something that you're going to learn as you get older. But just understanding the concept of discipline from a young age is so, so important. Because once you understand it, then you can build your foundation. If you understand discipline, you can build on it. You can actually understand what you need to do. Because when I was younger, and I know loads of other footballers, when they're younger, they don't even understand what discipline is. They just go off their emotions. They think, I want to train today, I'm going to train. I don't want to train today, I'm not going to train. And that's no way to be. You've got to have a level of discipline so you can actually put in those hundreds of thousands of hours so you can actually make it as a professional footballer. Again, discipline and mentality as a whole is taught inside the Pro Player Pathway. That will be linked in the description. That's my brand new program that I've created. Absolutely amazing results so far. Footballers are loving it inside. I would highly recommend you join. You can try it for 1 month, and if you don't like it, you don't have to come back. That'll be the first link in the description. And without further ado, let's go on to lesson 3. Lesson 4 is how to deal with criticism. And this is something that most footballers and most people in general, like I said before, they never actually learn this stuff. It turns into an ego fest. People start protecting their ego, saying, oh, it's not me, it's not true, I'm better than this. And all of that leads to a lack of development and set beliefs that actually make you a worse player. And I know this was especially true of me up until around the age of maybe 16. I had these closed off ideas. I thought I knew it all. I was going to be the best in the world. And I knew absolutely everything there was to know in football. And it's just not true. If you're a young player watching this, chances are that there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in the world who know more about you in football. And I'm not saying you have to listen to everyone's advice, but ultimately, if a coach is giving you advice, your parents are giving you advice, they probably have your best interests at heart. You need to be able to learn from these people, and as well as that, be able to deal with criticism. Now, when I say dealing with criticism, if someone's being massively offensive to you, they're digging you out, they're saying how bad you are at football, of course, that's not constructive. And that's a completely another topic, which I'll talk about now. That is very, very key. You have to be able to deal with that type of criticism, as well as the kind of learning criticism, the constructive criticism. So, the first way in which you deal with basically just mean criticism, where someone's just making fun of you, is what you do is you literally just say, that's fair enough. Like, just completely ignore it. You don't rise to these type of things, because if you rise to it, you give the other person what they want, and this can really, really mess you up in football. If you're having people who are making fun of you all the time, it's just naturally going to happen, because everyone says they want to be a footballer. Not many people are going to make it as professionals. So naturally, other people at school or other people in life are going to find it funny that you actually want to be a footballer. Of course, I don't find it funny that you want to be a footballer. It's very realistic for some people. And I've just seen an elephant. I might have to turn around. But ultimately, right, a lot of people want to be footballers. You can be a footballer, but you have to understand that some people are going to find this ridiculous. They're going to find it funny. They're closed-minded people. They're not going to believe that you're going to become a footballer. So these people are going to criticize you. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to laugh at you. And they're going to be happy when you lose. And there's a very unique way of dealing with this. Like I said, you've literally just got to say, fair enough. It's an elephant. I haven't seen many of them in my time. So, like I was saying, it's a very unique way of dealing with it. Just literally say, fair enough, mate. It's fair enough, to be honest. You just react like that, and there's not really much people can do. Don't rise to this stuff, because that's when you give these people what they want. But ultimately, in that regard, the reason why you need to learn this stuff is because you do not want to be wasting your energy dealing with people who are hating on you, making fun of you, because ultimately it's a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. And if you're wasting your time on this thing, then it's taking away your time from another thing, aka improving at football. So it's very, very important. You want to protect your energy as well. You don't want to be throwing your energy out, wasting time on pointless arguments, just going back and forward with people who aren't even worth your time. So it's very important to learn, to basically be mature enough to just not respond to that type of criticism. Now, when it comes to another type of criticism, like I was saying previously, it's a completely different story. If someone is constructively criticizing you and they're actually trying to get you to improve, you need to be able to identify this. And it's very, very easy to identify. If someone's just outright being rude to you, of course, they don't care about you improving. They're just trying to make fun of you. But it's very easy to understand when someone actually wants you to improve. And you need to be able to listen to this stuff. You don't want to be big-headed like I was, like other footballers are, where you think you know best. Because it's simple to test, really. If a coach is giving you advice or someone's giving you advice, just take the advice. See what happens. If it makes you worse or it doesn't work, then maybe they were wrong. But it's very simple. You're going to play hundreds of games through your football career, if not thousands. So if someone gives you some advice for a next game or a training session, take it and see what happens. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's as simple as that. So it's very, very important that you actually have this open mindset, this growth mindset, where you can improve by learning from people and you're not closed off, because this is how you're going to improve as much as possible. That's it for lesson 4. Let's go lesson 5. We actually have some balls, not something you see in the UK every day. I think one of the maddest things about Thailand that I've noticed so far is just how much wildlife there is. It's absolutely ridiculous. The one complaint I do have is the mosquitoes. So annoying, they're absolutely after me every day. But ultimately, it's been the best way to spend my off season. Wouldn't change a thing. Now, for lesson 5. Oh God. That's a geese. To be fair, you actually do see them in the UK. I think he's after me as well. But anyway, so lesson 5. What we're talking about is recovery actually matters. And this is something that most footballers, again, they never learn. They just get to 18 and they quit. And of course, this is a reality for most people. They're never going to make it. I've almost just been hit by a car, oh my God. This is a reality for most people. They're never going to make it past 18, because when they hit 18, other things come into play, like getting a job and, going to university, etc., etc. And that's absolutely fine for those people to do. But if you want to make it past that point and play semi-professional or professional football, then you have to learn that recovery actually matters. And this is one that you cannot afford to learn later in life. With some of the other topics that we've discussed today, yes, you can learn them later in life and it's not the end of the world. But recovery actually mattering is something you have to learn right now. Because if you don't, what will happen is you will suffer a similar fate to most footballers, where they get massive injuries, recurring injuries over and over again. And it's something that I've had in my time as well, before I actually learned about all of this recovery stuff. Because when you don't recover properly, your muscles don't recover, your mind doesn't recover, your ligaments, tendons, all of this stuff in your body doesn't recover properly. So then when you go into your next match or your next training session, or you go and train on your own, your body is at a weakened state, which means when your body's at a weakened state, when you go to do these types of movements here, like this, and you go to push off, wherever you're pushing off, your body is more susceptible to basically breaking down, something twisting, something breaking. God forbid that would happen, but your body is more susceptible to effectively breaking down and, a ligament tearing or a tendon tearing or something snapping, etc., etc. So it's very, very important that you actually have your recovery on point. And it's just so key, because like I said, if you learn it later on in life, you will effectively waste so many years of football just sitting on the bench, being in the hospital, being in the physio room. Because if you just don't learn it, then you're going to get injured over and over and over again, and you cannot afford to do that. Because like I mentioned previously in one of the other lessons, the most important thing with football is just playing. The more you play, the more you're going to improve. So if you're constantly in the physio room, and because you're constantly injured, because you're constantly not recovering properly, then what's going to happen is you're going to fall behind. Other players are going to improve at a faster rate than you, even if you're doing all your extra training, because when you get that 3-month injury, everyone else will just catch up. They'll just slowly catch on you, and all of your extra training will be completely pointless. So recovery actually mattering is one of the key things. It's just so important. I can't stress it enough. It especially comes from heart from me, because I have suffered this before. I used to get loads of injuries, didn't know how to recover properly, and that's one of the main things as well. Lots of footballers don't actually know how to recover. They never learn it, and you can see why they never learn it. Because online, the advice is just, get some good sleep, and that's kind of it. That's as far as it goes. Of course, it's way more in depth than that. There's so many different elements to recovering, and one thing that people ignore as well is the mental side. If you don't recover mentally, then eventually, maybe you're not going to get a physical injury from that, of course you're not, but you will get a mental injury. And when I say mental injury, what I mean by that is effectively, you're going to quit. You're just not going to be able to have it. You're not going to be able to hack football. You're going to effectively burn out, and from there, you won't be able to make it if you burn out and you stop playing. So ultimately, recovery actually mattering, so important. You need to learn this as young as possible. Again, something that's taught inside the Pro Player Pathway. Got the full in-depth recovery guide that I learned at Barnet FC, which is a professional club. Takes you through the entire thing, with coming from, match day -1 to the night before match days, what you should do after training, how you should fuel yourself as well. And I've actually got my friend Alexei on that as well, who is a professional footballer at Arsenal. He's taught me everything in terms of the diet guide, and honestly, just learning how to fuel myself, recover, and fuel myself as a footballer, that as a combo has helped me improve so much. So the Pro Player Pathway will be linked in the description. The stuff I've mentioned obviously covers all of that, but the most important part of the Pro Player Pathway is of course the football side of things. It's hundreds of technical training sessions, the exact drills that I use to make my technical ability so good. I'll have a clip on screen right now of me actually dribbling. All of that dribbling ability there has come from doing these technical sessions. As well as that, there's position-specific training, and for example, if you don't know what that is, it's like left wingers doing crossing and shooting drills from the left side, etc. That's obviously just an overview. And then, as well as that, hundreds of other modules, like I already mentioned, the in-depth recovery guide, the meditation guide, as well as that, the in-depth diet guide as well, the professional fitness plan, the professional gym plan. All of this stuff is covered. Everything is covered because I spent over 6 months actually working on the Pro Player Pathway to get it done, and there's a community of over 150 ballers inside who are all improving their football career every single day by taking the action steps, learning from my teachings and my advice, and you could be the next one. You can go make friends with these guys inside the community. They'll help you on your career, you help them on their career. So Pro Player Pathway will be linked in the description. The last thing I do want to say is that there are weekly calls, so if you have any questions, I'll get them answered on these weekly calls, and basically the way it works is I take you through a very in-depth topic which will help you on your football career, and you can just get specific advice from me. So that's going to be the end of this YouTube video. If you did enjoy, leave a like rating below, and I'll see you in the next video.